morning. Happy happy Friday. It's day 4 or chapter 4 in Honest Advent. And I'm so glad that you guys are joining me through this beautiful book with Scott Erickson. Again, what a beautiful picture today. I'm going to be real quick today. I have a pretty busy day, and but I did want to touch on this one today because it's a big one. So here's this one. Dang, it's so good. So good. So the verse today is Psalm 139, which I know for me in my life, my mom has spoken this verse over me since I was a teenager. And it's one of those verses that you can kind of get tired of hearing. You know what I mean? Where you're kind of like, blah, blah, blah. I've heard that like 8 million times. So I want you to try to put on a fresh headphones, a fresh hearing of this psalm, because it can take you to some real deep places with the Father. So vulnerability. This is the chapter today. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. Now, what's wild about this is I actually was going through a drawer of mine, and it's so funny how these little notes that I jot down, I forget. And I found this piece of paper, and I was like, gosh, I wonder what that means. And on it says, hovering over the darkness, the womb creates life. Psalm 139. And then I had like a little revelation. The first touch that my body had was you. And so I found this earlier this week, and then I was reading that, and I was just thinking about how beautiful that picture, that the very first touch was from the hand of God. He was knitting me inside of my mother's womb. And how precious that is. He's already created every strand for you. He was touching you first. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I love that. So the chapter goes on to say and talk about vulnerability and real vulnerability. Any real connection involves vulnerability. When we let our guards down and speak to the truths about our travels, that we find that where we really connect as humans is in the places we have found we walk with a limp. Whose story on here has a limp? I know mine does. And there are parts of my story that have limps that I'm not ready to share yet. And there's parts of my story, and I know for you too, that we're ready to share, because it's the vulnerable piece, the offering of our humanness, of our weakness, and that he comes and he meets us in those places. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to read just this beautiful, beautiful part. This interior secret is a vulnerable relationship between two individuals. The forming child trusts the mother to provide all it needs: nourishment, rest, energy, protection, so it can be knit together to its wondrous completion. The mother offers herself to the forming child, trusting it will take what it needs to mature into completion while refraining from harming, hurting, depleting her own delicate body of what it needs to survive. Both parties grow together, connected at their vulnerabilities. Both parties take the risk of creating something new together. I love that creativity together. We are creating life within us when we are mothers. And I love how Scott tenderly touches on miscarriage and on people that have lost their newborns, people that have lost their lives, and bringing a newborn into this world. The risk is real. It's painfully real. And then to bring back into focus that Jesus took on this very real vulnerability, to be vulnerable enough to submit himself into Mary's womb, to provide life that he needed to be born, is so incredible. The God of this universe coming into the womb of a woman and trusting that her body was going to provide what it needed to enter into this world. Again, he says, what does it say about God who's willing to be this vulnerable with us, who's willing to come into this world through the statistical risk of childbearing, who's willing to be attached by a placenta for nourishment and life to its own creation? Have you guys ever looked at a placenta? It's pretty amazing. We had home births, so we were able to really investigate a placenta, and it almost looks like a tree of life. It's fascinating. So if you ever get a chance to look at the placenta, we've always said it looks just like a tree, like the roots of a tree, and it providing life. It's so beautiful. What does it say about a God who's willing to wait and grow in the human womb? What does it say about a God who's willing to be fearfully and wonderfully made, just like we are? So any real connection involves vulnerability because it takes the act of making oneself open to be truly known. God came to us floating in embryonic fluid, slowly forming and taking shape, embedded in the uterine wall of a Middle Eastern teenage woman. What does it say about a God who's willing to be this vulnerable? Is that God is willing to open itself up to deeply connect with us. The question is, are we willing to do the same? I love that question. For me, I really took that to in my own personal journey, and I'd love again to hear from you and how you are coming to head with this meditation, this beautiful question of, do we bring our whole selves to him? Do we bring our whole heart? Do we bring the places that we're like, oh, that's kind of ugly, Lord, I don't really want to bring that to you? And I can say for me, that is really hard for me to do. I'm a pretty positive, hopeful person, and I think that is a gift. And then there are times where when my body starts to say, hey, I need you to listen. And that can look like anxiety. That can look like my back is so tight and I don't know why. And that is a gift for me to pause and say, what is going on? And I'll give you a quick example. Here's a little bit of vulnerability for you. So at the beginning of this week, I woke up and I was like, what is going on? My body is like a tense something. I don't know what to say. So I woke up, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, Lord, what? My body is telling me something, but on a regular conscious level, I feel like I'm okay, but my body is saying something different. So it was a gift. So I got to go before Jesus and be vulnerable and be like, hey, what is going on? What's going on with my body? And to be in that position, I encourage you, if you don't quite know what's going on in your heart, or you notice, wow, I'm pretty apathetic right now, or I get sick over and over and over again, I encourage you to sit and ask him, hey, Jesus, you know me. You knit me together in my mother's womb. You have watched my coming and my going. You know every thought that I have. That's the rest of what Psalm 139 has as truth. That you can trust that he's going to guide you. And so on Monday morning, when I came before the Lord and was asking, Jesus, what is going on? Because my conscious thinks that everything is fine, but there's something in my subconscious, in my inner spirit, coming through my body saying, I don't trust you. And so he took me to this place where little Kristen still had a lot of power. And when I say little Kristen, I mean there was a time period around 8 or 9 that he took me right to that memory. I mean, it was just like that. And I was like, whoa, I have not thought of that in years. I mean, years. I have shut that off. Did not want to ever go back there again. And it's not super traumatic, but it was a little traumatic for me as this little 8-year-old. And he guided me through there and led me to a place to feel on a real deep place as an adult. Looking back to little Kristen, I hope this helps you guys walk through some inner healing, because this is the place where vulnerability is needed. And he meets us there. So anyway, so in this vision that I was getting through prayer, he took me to this place. He allowed me to feel the depth of the grief I was feeling. And in that grief, he guided me of how he was there. What was the lie that I picked up and took it on myself to protect myself, which was a good thing at the time. But now as a 39-year-old woman, it's not helpful anymore. It's actually hurting me. So for me to go back with Jesus and tell my sweet little Kristen, not tell myself, the process was more like, what did I need? And so I really talked to my little Kristen in this vulnerable place, and I gave her what I needed. Jesus spoke life into this place, and he spoke truth after I grieved and I felt and I walked through those emotions. And he has taken me to a new place. And what's cool is that is sealed. That moment is sealed. Now, there might be other places in my heart where I still cling to self-protection, and we'll work through there. But his grace is sufficient, right? His mercies are new every morning. He gives us our daily bread. And for Monday, that morning, having no clue what was going on, he wanted to touch on that specific thing. So what is he calling you? And maybe you don't even know. Maybe it's taking a moment, going and sitting and being by yourself and just saying, hey, Jesus, where are those vulnerable places that you want to come, and you want to come and sit in the mess with me? You want to process and work through those places. You want to reveal what are the lies that I'm believing. What are the places that you want to bring freedom? You want to bring beauty from places of ashes. All right. Does anybody have anything else to say for day 4? I would love to hear it. I know there's a couple of people on. So if not, I'm going to head out and have a great Friday. I hope this weekend brings you lots of joy. I will not be on this weekend. I'm going to take a social media break, and then I will be back on Monday, Lord willing, and we will cover, I guess that would be day 7. All right. And yeah, happy Friday.